Ah, yes. Turn down the lights, draw the curtains, and get ready for something completely different on the safe space. Oh my, oh my, oh my. Is that some STULLduggery I see around here? Oh, yes, indeed. Scotty Lopez in the safe space, ladies and gents. Yes, he is. He's here. He's live. He's ready to go. How you doing, Scotty boy?
I am doing absolutely fantastic, and might I say, excellent choice of music to bring us in today, my friend.
Like I was saying, something completely different. As we come into the safe space today, the new decor. We've got some spiders, some webs. We've got a cauldron up the back, bubbling away. There's some dry ice about. But don't worry, because, of course, the mandatory finger paints and Play-Doh is still available, and we'll be duking for apples as we make our way through what I'm calling the Haunting of Stull. And area code 666, Gateway to Hell. Oh, yes, 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 Scotty. We're getting in the mood today, man, and I'm telling you, bro, you were kind of telling me some of the stuff that a show the other day that we done together. It sparked an interest, an interest of yours particularly, to revisit somewhere we've spoke of in the past. So, Scott, I'm really looking forward to today, man. This is like local woo to you, and it's daylight woo in the UK. I like it.
Yes, I mean, this is definitely something that has always piqued my interest throughout the years, and ever since I had heard about it and heard people talking about it, ever since I had been in school, I think I first heard the story of Stull, and I had to be in probably 8th grade, maybe a freshman in high school, something like that.
Whoa.
And, so, I mean, this is just something that has been permeating through local legend, and I guess you could call it urban legend, in this area of the country, especially
Scott,
Kansas.
Right? Kansas, any other the states that anyone lives in America, anywhere in the world. Me up north in the islands where I grew up, and everyone, that locale, that geographical place where you grew up, some more than others, admittedly. But like you're saying there, at some point in our childhood, just moving into high school and things, we come across one of these stories. And like you say, when it comes to the kind of oral tradition, the urban myth, the urban legend, there's nothing that comes close. No way of proving it, but that doesn't matter sometimes. In fact, that helps, because you don't want to debunk some of this stuff, because it's like the most golden woo that no horror writer could ever come up with.
That's right. And not only that, you hear about some of the experiences, some of the eyewitness accounts, and then you start going, maybe there really is something to this. I mean, it's one thing to hear about the stories, hear about, you know, an urban legend, but then when you start having reports of people witnessing things and, you know, stuff like that, then you got to start wondering, you know, it just, it,
Big time. Now,
it's one of those
before
things,
we
man.
launch right into it, let me tell everyone out there, I want to thank you all for turning up today. See Ms. Space Case, Miss Space Case, Miss Space Cake in there. Great to see you. We've got Sidvich from Norway, our good friend. Jason, a local from Glasgow here, Scott legend. Kristen in there. Great to see you, Kristen. Austin. Var Don Guerrero. Now, the last time we spoke about Stull, Scott, you were telling us about how that this is reportedly, and we're going to get into this, but just to recap on what you said about Stull last time, it's one of the gateways to hell. And I've seen Var Don Guerrero talking earlier about how, and it's in this comment here, the catacombs in Paris. This is another one of the alleged 9 gates to hell, or 7 or 9 circles, or however it's labeled and numbered on any particular day. So yeah, interesting, man.
Yeah, I mean, there's these places around the world, I guess, that you could consider gateways to hell. Who knows? Why does it have to be 7? I just think that there's areas around the world where you have these natural vortexes, or maybe even vortexes that were opened up by people, you know, and so.
And anyway, Scott, you to claim you know the number would suggest to me anyway, right, that at some point somebody claims to have gone through all of them. How do you know you've gone through all of them? You know, did somebody literally go to hell and come back? Wouldn't we have heard about that? I think so. I think
exactly.
So. Yeah.
It's almost like, how do we know that there's 13 crystal skulls?
Exactly.
You know, how do we know that there's not more out there, right? So,
and the crystal
we're
skulls
only
does
going
tie
by
into this, Scott, right? Because the crystal skulls, opening of portals and gateways back in 2011, you know? So, I mean, this is the kind of vein of woo that we've been on. And just before I hand it over to you and we get into this, give a couple of more shout outs here. I see Valley in there, Aunt Nanny Granny, Angel Breath, cool name. We've got M. Ricky, I like that name. Where else have we here now? Let me scroll up. Denny, great to see you, Denny. So many names in green here. It's amazing. If you want your name in green, don't forget, I would love for you to become a member of the channel. It really goes a long way to support everything we do here. And not only that, but you get to unlock the cool emojis. You get members-only live streams, member chat-only live streams. We have a KBS VIP Sunday where it's before we do the main stream later on that night, I come and chill with the members. So that'd be much appreciated. We've got super chats, we've got PayPal, any way you want to, but only if you can support the show, or you don't need to. So scrolling up for a little more, we've got Kazi in there. The mechanic, cool. We've got Dilton, or Dylan, sorry, Dylan. I read that wrong there. It's my eyes. Must be something I smoked today. I'm only joking. I'm sure that it is the dude, Mama Shaibul, as well. We've got Mannerus. Scrolling up more. We've got the wonderful Susie as well. S. Mac, Mick, Stroney, Johnny Whistles out there. And last but not least, the Whistler. But we've got Nana, Audie Lover, and Loven Meridius. I like that. Yes. So, yes, Scott, we'll get back. We'll give the chat room a little shout out. We'll go for some of their questions when we get kind of more into the haunting of Stull. So take us all back, set the stage. I mean, you found out about it in the high school and that. So over to you, Scotty. And bear in mind, there might be some people here who haven't heard anything about Stull before in the past.
Yeah, so I guess I should just start about with how I heard about it and the legend, I guess you could say, as I heard, as heard by me in the very beginning. So like I said, I was I was probably I think I was a freshman because I think I was in high school when I first heard about it, and of course, it was some of my friends were telling me about it, and they were like, there's like this really haunted cemetery up in Stull, by Topeka, and at the time I lived down in Wichita, so that's kind of down in southern Kansas, and they're like, oh, there's this place up there by Topeka, it's super haunted, and they say that there's a gateway to hell, and that the Pope won't fly over there, won't fly over it and all this stuff, and I'm like, what, and they're like, yeah, and they were like, yeah, there's this church up there, and it don't have a roof, but when it rains, it doesn't get wet on the inside, and
Good timing with the weather effects there, Scott.
yeah, and they're like, every Halloween they say that these stone steps manifest, they just appear, and then they go down into the ground, and that's supposedly where the devil comes up and walks the earth on All Hallows Eve, and that it does the same thing on the spring equinox, and I'm like, well, I'm sitting there now that they've got my attention, I'm like, well, why is it so haunted? Well, what happened there, and they're like, well, there was a bunch of satanic cults and witches that were doing rituals out in the 1800s around that area, and that they had went in the church and did some kind of ritual and summoned Satan, and that the local townspeople found out, and that they went on and basically became a Midwestern Salem witch hunt. That they went out there, rounded up a bunch of people that they suspected of being witches, and hung them out in the cemetery on this oak tree that was out there. And I mean, it's just wild, dude.
And you were telling me, right, even like to this day, I mean, we're going way over like 100 years back in time here to when this was all, to when the STULLduggery was occurring at Stull, right? But you were saying even now it's like the kind of place you drive through and it's like tumbleweed blowing down the street. People turn their back. It's like really weird people. Well, not weird the way they react to people, shall we say.
Now, there can be a couple reasons for it, right? One is it has become quite a location for people to go, and they
granted,
and I think a lot of the townspeople are kind of fed up with all of the people coming into town and poking around and messing around, and
now,
so
I can appreciate that from the Loch Ness Monster point of view, Scott. The tourists that, ironically, the village survived on and thrived on, but being a local every summer, people asking you to stop and take photos of them and have you seen Nessie, gets a bit monotonous, a bit repetitive, sorry. And it does. I get it. I get that.
Yeah, so I think maybe that plays a little part of it, but then there's also, from what I've heard people saying and stuff, that there's just something off about the town in general. Something.
The six-fingered people. The six-fingered people and the double rows of teeth give it away, Scott.
Oh, double rows of teeth. That's going to play an interesting role here in a little bit, Kev, as we get deeper into this.
And folks, it's, for me, safe space rules apply. Scott sent me an absolute arsenal of links that we can get into here to add to it and back up and take on further what we're claiming here. We're not claiming anything. We're just describing one real potential portal to somewhere really, really bad, and what is undoubtedly a paranormal, supernatural location. And whether you go back to the witches or these satanic cults, take your pick. But normal rules apply. I've only looked at the headlines, Scotty. Didn't even watch the little video you sent me. I'm as much a viewer and a listener as the audience out there. So, yeah, man, I don't know where you want to start, where you want to take us. Over to you, big chap. Take us into the woo.
Well, I mean, look, I'm just as much as an observer too. I have never personally been out to Stull. I've probably driven through it on the way to Lawrence, but I've never like stopped at the cemetery or witnessed anything myself. I'm just going by local, local legend, local lore, and things I've heard about. And I've known people that have went out there, and so there's definitely some weirdness. There's definitely, I think there's a little more to it than just, oh, it's just some urban legend.
Yeah, there's substance to it. There is. It's not like you say. It goes beyond the urban legend into something very, very real, and some real weirdness surrounding the place as well.
I think the first place we should start, because it just gives a really good breakdown of everything, is probably that video I sent you. And I think we should probably kind of play through that and then just give a little commentary and
Yep. Now I'm going to drop the link for this channel. It's called Escafy. 408,000 subscribers. Absolutely brilliant. It's the first time I've heard of this channel. I'm looking forward to checking this out and clicking that subscribe button. So yeah, this is called The Real Gateway to Hell.
Local legends are unique. Every town, no matter how small, has its local legends, but not all legends are unique. Most are essentially the same as told in every other town, but some are so original that it makes the story seem true.
Now I'm telling you right now, before he even states the obvious here, the minute I heard about Stull and you were describing it the first time round a while back, Scott, already stood out as being something a bit different, you know what I mean? But the last time, recently when we spoke about it with the portal to hell, and I don't know, maybe because of the vibe we're on, this paranormal frequency, you better believe this place sticks out. It's like a beacon in the paranormal world, man.
One of such legends is from a small town in Kansas. It's a town known only for folklore and dark legends, telling of witches, werewolves, shapeshifters, and visits by the devil himself.
Okay, right, now hang on, you've just taken the woo. You didn't slowly lead us to it, Scott. You threw us in the deep end with werewolves and shapeshifters now.
Yeah, remember I was talking, I said that those double road teeth would play an interesting role here in a little bit. Yeah, just
keep her rolling. And remember, folks, show this channel some support. The Real Gateway to Hell. Let's do it.
They say the town is home to so much evil the Pope won't fly over it, and that the closer to it people get, the more evil they become. But these are just elements of a much greater legend that within this town is a functioning gateway to hell.
That's interesting. There must be, the closer you get to it, the more evil people come. I don't even... Dude, what the hell, man? Don't you be going near this place, Scott, right?
That is what sort of
puts you off.
Adds little. Well, yeah, that's what sort of adds to the whole everyone in that town being kind of weird. You know what I mean? Like the weird vibe you get the closer you get to Stull, and then as you get in there, it's just kind of like let's just say you don't feel very welcome in the community.
Well, my alter ego is going to jump in at some moment here, do a little really inappropriate dance for the occasion. But Germanus, talk about contrast, eh?
Love the thunder, Kev.
The thunder, it adds to, that along with Scott's information today, I think we're in for a very special treat indeed. So, folks, the reason I'm interrupting the video, it might seem annoying, but it's purely so that we can add commentary to it and change it a little bit with audio so that we do comply with fair use. That's the only reason I'm being a pain in the bum, okay?
666 is an area code in Kansas. Within it is a small town called Stull. It's always been a small place, with little about its early days known. Stull was established in the 19th century. Rumour tells of it having a sister town not far away. It was also known as a place of evil, with witches and secret societies conducting occult rituals there. But
Lothar, did you hear that? If Lothar's out there, you know who they meant, Lothar. You know it.
Now, yes. Now the whole 666 zip code thing, that's actually the zip code of Topeka. Not Stull, but very near there.
Close enough, Scott. Close enough.
Close enough. And that used to always be a weird thing too. You know, back when I lived within the Topeka city limits, because I live just outside of Topeka now. But when I lived in there, it was always kind of weird that, you know, that we're just like the one town out of the entire country that happens to have that zip code of 666 at the beginning. And
when you look at the geographical size of America, you know, when you get something that close, let's face it, that's a whisker away. You know what I mean? It's closer than
exactly.
ballpark. You know, it's there, right?
Yeah, yeah. And you know, we used to always joke about it because, you know, we always used to say that people that move to Topeka, they get sucked in and they can't leave, and we're like, you're in hell now.
How many guys in Topeka have said to their mates, "Oh man, I'm dating a bat out of hell." Literally, one, yeah. You know, I'm just saying, I'm sorry. I know none of you girls are bats out of hell. But talking of bats out of hell, we're going to carry on later on today on the Kev Baker Show with this kind of more darker theme when we're joined by one of your favourite characters out there. I know you love this dude. Me and Scott, we love him. Ryan Gable is going to be back tonight. And you know how he's got this deep knowledge of the occult. He can really decode the symbols. He sees layer under layer under layer and takes things so deep. We're going to be getting back into the weird and wonderful and programmed world of popular culture. But before then, we're in Stull.
after one ritual went badly, the town was flooded, and still today its ruins are below a lake. We don't know if any of that is true, but we do know of several tragedies to take place within Stull. A farmer once set his field alight to
That is true.
That is true. That it did flood, and so yeah.
clear it for new crops, but his son ran into the field and was burned alive. Some believe the boy was possessed by demons that escaped from the local graveyard. Stull is most well known for the legend that a gateway to hell is hidden in its cemetery. According to that legend, the gateway was opened by witchcraft and the death of a baby. In the 1800s, witches would gather in the cemetery to perform rituals and show their love for Satan. It got to the point where locals would kill anyone even suspected of being a witch, hanging them on a large oak tree in the cemetery and throwing their remains into unmarked graves. The witches would gather inside the cemetery church and summon demons to possess locals, like the little boy who ran into fire. On one dark night, the witches summoned the devil inside the church to worship him. The devil chose one of them as his new wife, and she soon fell pregnant, but the child was born deformed, with one eye, horns, and covered in fur like a wolf. Townsfolk soon learned of the deformed baby of Satan, killing it and the mother.
Whoa! Wowzers. I mean, folks, this was a different time, different mindset. It was weird times back then, Scott, you know?
Kind of sounds similar to the Jersey Devil.
Mm-hmm.
Remember, wasn't there a woman that supposedly gave birth to a deformed baby or creature of some sort, and that supposedly was the Jersey Devil? Kind of a similar situation.
And I'm sure, you know, logically speaking as well, not to take anything away from the woo, which it doesn't, because I quite believe there was a group of people that were, you know, doing spells or whatever it was, and, you know, one of the aims of casting spells and things is opening portals. But then you've got the kind of the religious mindset of the time as well, Scott. So I'm sure a lot of these tales, not just Stull, but anywhere, could have been embellished a little bit to scare people from the Ooga Devil. But like I say, that's not to take away from what was definitely happening around that time, you know?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, even if anything, I mean, we're talking about people being killed. Even if they were falsely accused of being a witch or whatever.
Big time. Exactly.
Yeah, I mean, so there's definitely there was a lot of craziness going on there, to say the least. And that right there in that picture, that's an actual gravestone out there, and it says Wittich. But I don't know if they were spelling it different or something, but
not a stretch to get from there to, you guessed it, broomsticks and things. Exactly.
Their corpses were buried under a large tombstone that read Witch. With the loss of his child, Satan cursed Stull with a gateway to hell, from which ghosts, demons, and other evil forces would emerge to terrorize locals.
Bet they don't have that when they're like trying to sell a house in the area. Bet the estate agent tries to hide that part from people, right?
Although the gateway is only open once per year, on Halloween night, another deformed child was also said by some to be the devil's son. Others say he was a monster who emerged from the gateway. It was the late 19th century and the boy was covered in thick fur. He had unnaturally long and sharp teeth, so he was kept in the basement where he was chained to the wall and thrown scraps of meat to feed on. But one day the boy bit off his own hands to escape his chains. He then ran into the town and began killing locals. He survived on human meat for 11 months and came to be known as the Werewolf of Stull.
Whoa, dude. Whoa. So we've got.
And what they don't mention there, but I think it might have referenced in one of the articles, is that he also had a double row of teeth.
Now that's something you don't often get, though. We've talked about werewolves on the show, interesting stuff, but rarely do you get the backstory of where the werewolf came from, Scott. You know?
Yeah.
Again, setting this apart from other places, and it makes me wonder, even this early into it. And for me, this makes it even more intriguing. But why haven't we heard more about Stull? Because, this should be like one of the top destination on any decent paranormal investigator's map. It's like a bucket list place to go, Scott.
Yeah, but I'll explain that here in a minute too, why it's not. But and I also need to point out that the fur of the werewolf is red fur.
Oh, ginger hair.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
ginger.
Just saying, 6 fingers.
But a hunter eventually killed him and he was buried beside his brother. It's said if you stand above either of their graves, the ghost of a witch appears before you screaming, until you step away from the grave, at which point she will disappear. But it's the ruined church that sees the most mysterious activity. One rumour tells that despite it not having a roof, no raindrop will fall within its walls, as even Mother Nature knows to fear the devil. It was in the church that in 1850 the mayor of Stull was stabbed to death by a stable worker. He was unable to explain why he killed the mayor, like some kind of force took hold of him. Since the night...
I wonder how often that happens, And this isn't to give any violent criminal an out. But, Scott, I do wonder if, on occasion, literally something else takes over the body,
I think in some cases that probably happens, and I would think, if you're in a supernaturally charged hot spot like Stull, and if you're inside that church or whatever, I think if you're the kind of person that is susceptible to being opened up to something, you're probably going to have a really bad time in there. You know what I mean? Like I said, it's not giving them an out.
No.
It's just kind of odd, that this dude just decided he was going to stab the mayor to death, and
bit random, right?
Yeah,
too random.
Of his death, the crucifix within the church was known to move by itself. Every day at midnight, the cross spins upside down and flies through the air to hover above the spot he was stabbed. But
wonder if it hits Paul Begley on its way down.
Those who want to see that for themselves are warned against entering the church, as anyone who does is at risk of being cursed for the rest of their lives. Stull is said to contain one of the 7 gates of hell that, according to urban legend, are spread across America. But the most terrible and horrific thing about Stull is that, like everywhere else in Kansas, it's horrifically dull. So anyways, there are said to be 7 gates of hell. Pass through all 7 in the right order and you will be transported to hell. Anyone who passes through them will be taken to the underworld. But
You know, Scott, thinking about that, when you do get these dark magicians, what you're literally hearing about there, whatever your own opinions about the supernatural, paranormal, and all things that go woo in the night, that's like somebody's life work that they undertake, you know, somebody that goes down that dark path, you know, trying to navigate literally their way, you know, the path through the circles, the gates, whatever way you want to symbolize this journey that they're taking. And it is very real, you know, whether you believe it or not, and whether it even mean it's real to them, right?
Exactly. I mean, they're putting all of their intent and all of their thought into it, right? I mean, like you said, it's their life's work. They're really focusing on manifesting that, whether it be in their mind or whatever. But that's what they're trying to do. And you know, I definitely believe that there's something to intent, and especially if you have multiple people putting that intent on the same thought, right? So when you have like covens of witches or Satan worshipers all going out and focusing, you know, their mental focus is dedicated to trying to manifest something
it's
or
like
bring
the
something out.
difference between a solo musician and a small kind of orchestra. It builds that wave of energy, you know, amplifies it. The more voices, the more you've got there. Big time, Scott. Big time.
But only 5 of the gates are known to exist, as they say that by the time you reach the 5th gate your sanity will be completely lost, making it almost impossible to find the final 2. Some think the gateway in Stull is the final, but most versions of the urban legends hold that all gates are in a small wooded area of Pennsylvania. They say that long ago a massive insane asylum stood in that wooded area. Many of America's most deranged and
we're going to have to look into this place too, because this is the second time I've heard about the 7 gates being talked about in Pennsylvania. And I think we talked about it kind of last time.
We found it by mistake, didn't we? Because we just looked for the 7 gates and in Wiki, that was the one it really concentrated on. I think there was 2 in Pennsylvania, wasn't there?
Yeah, something like that. So that's what's kind of interesting about this video, is because towards the end here, he touches on this stuff in Pennsylvania. And so we get a little bit of backstory on that as well. So pretty interesting.
Violent people were kept at the asylum until the night it caught fire. Most died from the smoke, with remaining survivors being massacred by locals who feared the mentally ill.
Okay, so you've got an asylum, an emotionally stressed, violent at place at the best of times, right? And notorious for storing, containing energies, whether it's the patients that were there, whether it's residual kind of hauntings, or whether it's literal portals, you know, into the place.
And then the
fire.
patients being abused, and being killed by people who are just afraid of people with mental problems at the time, right?
And then it's got the fire, the violent, sudden end to all of this. People, and I hate to say this, you know, but people trapped. And if Stone can record things, then damn, dude.
And let me point something else out that I kind of made a interesting connection to after I saw this. Stull was started by people who were escaping religious persecution from Pennsylvania.
Now, sorry, folks. Hypothetically, I've got the munchies, but I wouldn't do something like that, right? Somebody in the chat room, and we're both gamers, Scott, and they were saying Stull equals Silent Hill.
You know, I think if there was a place to, you know, in the real world that you could compare to Silent Hill, I think Stull would be a very good candidate to be something like that. Yeah, I think so.
Big time.
The fire destroyed the asylum, and those who fled the building were still trapped in by 7 large gates. Those gates are now said to be the 7 gates of hell, transformed by fire and death that night. Historical records fail to mention any asylum ever existing in the area, but some believe all documents mentioning it were destroyed to cover up the accident.
Whoa. Even more dark.
And death of every single inmate. There are different stories behind the gate's origin, but all legends tell that the first gate can only be seen during the day, while others can only be seen at night. So if you're ever in Helen, Pennsylvania or Stull, Kansas, and you want to meet the devil to sell him your soul, or some Girl Scout cookies, look for the gates.
Oh, yeah, because, like, well, I suppose if you're on that path, that might be a day out for you, but it never really occurred to me to go looking for hell to go and sell my soul. Not this week, anyway, eh?
No. So, yeah, just very interesting. Some of the other experiences that I've heard of that people have had, like some of these eyewitness accounts, I've seen them posted online throughout the years, and I couldn't even begin to think of like where to find them again, or I would have sent you the links, but I've just seen stuff posted just throughout the years.
Well, Scott, before you get into your next one, we've got Vardon Guerrero, one of our resident paranormal experts, may I add. We've got a few in there, and I'm loving it. Says the number of the devil is not 666. Okay, technically, I suppose it's the number of the beast, right? But he says, and this is interesting, it's 749 or 743. To alchemists, that was the number in which it took to reach hell within the earth. Now, that is absolutely brand new information to me, because I don't know much about the world or the works of the alchemist. Talk about alchemy a lot, Scott, when it comes to magic and stuff like that. But that, I mean, Var, on face value, that's really interesting, dude. And Jason says he'd like to go there for a safe space field trip, Scott. There you go.
Ooh, I don't know if that's a field trip you want to take.
Nope.
Very interesting with the 749 and 743 number. It's almost very close to the phone number area code of Topeka, which is 785. And I wonder what the area code number of Stull is.
Oh, don't go there. I'm not going to check. Should we check? Okay, then.
Give it a shot.
Oh, and the music kicks up. Area code Stull 785.
Okay, yeah. So, I mean,
right bang in the middle. Right bang in the middle of the two numbers, man.
Who knows, man? It's just
no,
very
it's 7-4. Sorry, I thought it was 7-8.
No.
Yeah, sorry, my bad.
But I mean, we're kind of close. Just
ballpark.
Interesting.
For the purpose of our paranormal show this afternoon in the pimped out safe space. Oh yes, indeed, it will do us.
Yes. So some of these eyewitness accounts I've heard of are people driving, especially on Halloween.
Don't you dare hairy hand me at this point, big man.
No.
I want no hairy-handed tactics on this show.
No hairy hands. No hairy hands. But
no hairy hands.
But equally as creepy, I guess you could say. They'd be driving, and where the church, and I might point out that the church is no longer there. It was demolished. And very strangely, it was demolished in the middle of the night.
Really? That's weird.
Yeah, and
maybe to stop all the like ghouls and Satanists from like having a vigil, stood there with like their black candles.
I think that was the main reason. I think the locals may have demolished it.
Oh, Scott, get this. We often quote this one, as above, so below. But did you know it also goes on from the alchemist point of view? What is within me is all around me. Oh, I like that part. It's almost like the whole "do what thou wilt," using half of the Crowley phrase, because it's longer than that. For that is the, or that's the whole of the law, something like that. And that there, you know, that's obviously the full saying from a woo alchemist point of view. I like that.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. Very interesting. The whole alchemy thing is just a whole realm in itself that you could do an entire show on. You know, that's
If I ever
I mean,
perfect
that's
it, folks, I won't be back on here. If I turn lead into gold, I'm sorry, I'm out of here.
yeah. So some of these weird experiences, these like eyewitness accounts that I have heard is that people have been driving through Stull, say like on Halloween night, right? And this is when the church was still up, when the church still existed.
When this is literally the church that people are looking at right here. And people might be thinking now, where have I seen that before? In Scott, it was a music cover for an album, right?
Yeah, I can't remember the name of the band right now.
Because when I
but
went looking
think
for like a picture, it was like, wow, I'm getting this band and this thing coming up. It forced me to take it.
Yeah, there was a rock band back in the early '90s who used that picture right there as the cover of their album, and they called it, I think, like the Stull EP or something like that. Pretty interesting. But yeah, that's what the church looked like when it was still up. It's no longer there anymore. But people have been driving like through Stull on Halloween, and they say that they see light coming out of the windows of the church.
Oh, dude.
And it appears as if the church has windows, like the light is coming through stained glass. You know what I mean?
In one dimension, just slightly this side or that side of our small field of vision, that spectrum of color we can see, Scott, you know that is still there in its prestigious shape and form, right? Just we can't quite see it, although the light, the energy, it can still be seen now. That's pretty special, dude.
Yeah, and there's also been reports of people saying that they see the church even after it's been demolished.
See this, and that holds true again. See, because literally it is still there, because it's never demolished wherever that dimension is. Wherever. Oh man.
Oh, yeah. So, you know, there's that, and that when they see it as they're driving by, you know, it has a roof and everything, light coming out of the windows. And I think, if I remember correctly, they say on Halloween, there's another window that doesn't exist on the building, but another window appears on the building. No explanation.
And not only that, but we've got the stairway that allegedly opens.
Yeah. Yeah. The stairway that manifests on Halloween. Now there is a stairway in the church. I think now it is filled in, where they collapsed the church in. There's no way to get down there now. But when the church was still up, people reported that when they would go down those stairs, there was like this time gap, big time gap. Like they would go down there for 5 minutes, but when they come up, they said it would feel like that they were gone for like hours or even days. You know, so
you see, I would say, I'm saying I would say because never been there, don't know, but if hell's a real place, right? I would think it's interdimensional, Scott. Okay, but I mean, I mean, if you were to put a label on me, it would be Christian. I don't do labels though, right? I just do me. My thing's my thing. But is there Christians out there that literally think that's symbolic, walking into the ground, you go down to hell? I mean, is there people that, I mean, is that a belief that it's actually here in this world, like down underground and things? I'm not mocking it. It's a genuine question because, for me, it's always been interdimensional.
I think so too. I mean, but it would also coincide with, say, a dimension that operates on a lower frequency,
Falling
right?
to that lower vibration. Yeah.
Falling to a lower level. You're going down as opposed to up.
Yep.
Descending as opposed to ascending. So
Rapidly descending in the case of Stull, by the sound of it.
Yeah. So obviously, I mean, if you want to look at it from the point of view of a vortex or some kind of a portal that's opened up to another dimension, it's obviously a gateway that leads to a lower dimension as opposed to a higher dimension, right? So,
and not only that, but these things are timeless, right? I mean, we'll go back to the 1800s for this going on, and this shows you again how these other dimensions, they don't operate in terms of time. Once that's open, Scott, that's it open. It's not like you just put your foot in the door while you're doing your little bit of magic and then pull your foot out and, everything's back hunky-dory. No, you're having that's a cause and effect centuries into the future, dude.
Exactly. And that would also sort of explain this gap in time that people would experience, right? Because maybe time doesn't operate with the same physics in that other dimension, right?
Absolutely, man.
Than here. So when you walk through, maybe a minute here could equal hours there, right? I mean, who knows? You're just dealing with a realm that doesn't operate with the same physics as our dimension. So again, I mean, just I also wonder, I mean, why did, if the legends are true about the witches and these secret societies going out there and holding these rituals, what was so special about that place? Is there a natural energy like already located there?
Bingo. Good point. Ley lines.
Is it on a ley line or something like that where they were like, okay, well, this is an area where we want to go and do this stuff because it's conducive for summoning or manifesting things.
Let me ask you, is there any ancient earthworks around Kansas? Anything like that?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know of any off the top of my head, but
Sounds bizarre. Sounds bizarre. Unless people watched the L.A. Marzulli episodes that I've done in recent years, and he's on the trail of the Nephilim. And what he's really doing is he's looking at some of these giant mounds, some of these giant structures, Scott, things that were built way in the past and attributed to some people, but then, he makes the case for it being Nephilim. And we've had big skeletons reported in America. The Smithsonian, they come in, get rid of all of them. So the reason that it might have sounded like a way out question, but if there's a portal to hell somewhere, maybe they might have been here at an earlier time, which would suggest. And if there are earthworks nearby, then who knows, man?
It's possible. I mean, because there was a Native American population in Kansas, obviously, and I'm sure that there have been mounds and stuff like that have been found here in Kansas. I just can't think of any specific one off the top of my head, but I'm pretty confident that there were probably many of them that were found. And then it goes back to the whole question of, was it really the Native Americans that we thought created them? Was it really them that created them? You know what I mean? Were they really? Were they the original creators of it, or were they really much older than what mainstream archaeology, tells us? And
Harriet in the chat room, she says hell's a real place. I believe Dante's Inferno depicts hell where there are levels of hell depending on sin. There are 9 levels of hell. Yeah, I've heard about that Dante's Inferno. I've never read it, but I would say to that, though, again, and it's not to counter that, and I certainly can't tell if it's a real place or not a real place, but that would still just be one man's interpretation of it, right?
Yeah, and it still falls in line with the probably
exactly.
9 dimensions,
Exactly.
nine different levels of lower dimension, and depending on where you end up is where you're going to end up. You know what I mean? Depending on how much,
Well, if you get to the ninth
or-
gate, you open the ninth gate and you walk out back on Earth. Hi, you're already here. Telling you, that's where I think hell is, dude. You look at some places around the world, you look at third world countries, which in this bloody day and age, it's stupid. There is still such a thing, right? Well, the cash in the world, and we know how that works, but, tell some of those people, that ask them where hell is. Very much for them, it's right here on Earth. Do you know what I mean? So it's all perspective, isn't it?
Yeah, ask any child living in Yemen or Syria right now.
Yep.
Yep, exactly.
So we've got links here, Scotty boy. What one will we go to first, my man?
Whichever one you want to go to. I don't have them pulled up right now.
Oh, I've got them here. Don't you worry. I am prepared.
They mostly go through kind of what the video covered, but they might fill us in on a few more little extra things that the video probably didn't cover. So I mean, if you want to go through them, that's cool. Because I think in one of these it may have reference to the double road teeth and the ginger hair werewolf situation or shape shifting entity situation. So yeah, if you wanna get into that,
I think we should have got Bill Bean to bless this show before we even got into it, Scott. Now, it might sound at times like I'm knocking like hell and the devil, and well, that Kev, he doesn't even believe in that. Oh, I believe in some real bad evil force out there, folks. Don't you worry about it. When I call them the Ooga Boogas, that's for my own comfort because they're far from Ooga Booga and cutesy and cuddly, Scott. Do you know what I mean? These things are very, very real, and they do come from a place. And if you want to call it hell, I'm with you. We'll call it hell for the argument's sake. So don't think I'm like poo-pooing this stuff. You know me, I like to think from things from different directions. It does people's heads in, Scott. You get mails saying 1 minute you're saying this, the next minute you're saying that. Yes, but always remember, the most important thing I always say is, I don't bloody know.
No, it's arrogant of us to think that we know everything.
Yeah, right? Man, big time.
We have to just throw our hands up in the air and say, I don't know. I don't know, man.
Dude. Exactly. So it says America has no shortage of haunted graveyards dotted across the country. I'll blow up a little bit for people out there. But none of them, and I agree with this, quite as legendary as Kansas Stull Cemetery, as an infamous doorway to hell, with a reputation so big that even the Pope himself is said to make his plane fly around it. Now, that's literally true, Scott. And you see, this is another thing, because how many urban legends, urban myths, tall tales can also add the fact, not like just conjecture or hearsay or a cardinal told an altar boy and they exposed it. It's nothing like that. This really happened. The Pope chose to go nowhere near Stull, even in a flight path.
Yep. Yeah, Pope John Paul.
Now, if any job in the world has knowledge to where these portals are, I mean, let's face it, their bosses are down there, right? I mean, they're going to know where to avoid,
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it was Pope John Paul back in the 90s. I think it was like 1990 or something like that. On his flying to Denver, specifically, they altered the flight path to not go anywhere near the airspace around Stull. Very interesting.
Very. So it says, with legends that involve really bad, nasty things happening to people, occult rituals, and even a yearly visit from the devil himself, Stull has gained an over-the-top reputation. Well, is it really over the top with some of the stories we're hearing? I think it's quite justified. That has landed it in countless books, most haunted top 10 lists, and even appearances on Supernatural. But is there any truth to the rumours swirling around America's most evil graveyard? when you're a long-time paranormal adventurer like me, Stull Cemetery has been on your... Well, it is. Okay, so I was saying earlier that, people, this should really be one of the top places. It is, obviously. So it says, on your haunted top spot bucket list since it rose to internet prominence in the 90s. But its out-of-the-way location made it a late-night adventure prohibitive. Always made it prohibitive. Hidden away in rural Kansas, Stull's inaccessibility. Scotty, are you really living in the tramp's pocket? Is it really that, remote out there? I mean, is it nothing?
It's not remote. The problem is that it's private property, and they will not let any investigators go out there and do any kind of proper investigation. See, this is the problem. This is why when you said, how come we haven't heard of any investigations? How come we haven't heard of any? It is strictly off limits. They will not let anyone go out there. And anyone that does manage to sneak in or try to do something, they face the risk of arrest, fines, and going to jail. So it's not like you can just roll out there with your paranormal investigative team and jump the fence and just go all willy-nilly out there. They have...
Not like Big Kevin and his brother just bimbling into Boleskine House then.
Yeah, they have police watching that thing 24/7, and then that adds to the whole uneasy, unwelcome vibe of the town, right? They don't want anybody there. They don't want anybody investigating. They don't
because
want
one
anybody
night a year, they all transform into werewolves and dragons and all sorts, man. It's
Who knows?
It's like
man?
that TV show Midnight Texas, dude. It's like supernatural people that live there, man. It's a good topic for a book or something. Stephen King, if I see you using that, I'm telling you, dude. But none of that. You know what I mean? So fortunately, while driving from Ohio to present, the Traveling Museum of Paranormal and Occult at the Colorado's Stanley Hotel, I finally came within an hour of Stull, and wasn't going to pass up on the chance to visit. No, if you're an hour away and you're into the paranormal, it's on the bucket list. You'd get a kick in the stones if you didn't, right? It was much weirder than I expected. The most evil cemetery in the world, the portal to hell, was actually on fire when I arrived. So for over a century, Stull Cemetery has been linked to countless legends involving witchcraft, satanic cults, and of course the infamous gateway to hell. Now, according to the legends, Lucifer once used the abandoned and now destroyed church at the centre of the cemetery as his own personal doorway from the netherworld. It was in Stull where he would rouse the spirits who had been buried inside the gates of the most evil cemetery in existence. But he's only able to pass through the gateway twice a year, at midnight on spring equinox, and of course, Halloween. Now, I'm sure you're probably wondering why, of all places, the devil would choose a small, relatively unknown place like Stull as his connection to the earthly realm. But the reason dates back to 1850. At least. Let's just say at least, right?
Least.
Yeah, in recorded history. The most widely accepted theory behind the origins of Stull's evil reputation is tied to both a large tree that once stood in the cemetery and old tombstones inscribed with the word Wittich. Now, the tree, it's said, was the hanging tree for condemned witches who were put to death by torch-wielding townspeople. And the grave? Well, none other than the final resting place of the bones of Satan's child, who legend says was born deformed and covered in wolf hair. Now, according to the legends, hundreds of eyewitnesses have claimed that even though the church had been missing its roof since the 1920s, rain refused to land inside the building. Now, if that, even one of those accounts is true, Scott, right? Just one, that's all it takes. What if, right? Then let's quickly brainstorm it. I mean, what other situation do we see that water, droplets, rain might be deflected, manipulated. And I would think one way that springs to mind would be sound waves, vibration. Maybe, I don't know if there's some kind of, sounds weird, magnetic effect with like infrasounds. You know what I'm saying? So, like, we're looking for explanations here. Not really going with it. I wouldn't put my house on any of the things I said there, but at least we're like entertaining the idea that there might be some geological explanation for this happening, just happening where this church used to be, you know, just coincidentally, not down the road at the Walmart, not over there, you know, but right where. So don't think that we're just like we're being I don't know, too steeped in the woo, Scott. We're trying,
you know, and okay, so let's just say there is a natural energy vortex or something there, right? Yeah, like you said, maybe electromagnetics, but come on, I mean, and I've never seen any natural phenomenon that prevented rain from hitting in a very specific isolated area like that. I mean, and to have hundreds of eyewitnesses, you
like
know,
I
I mean,
say, and like I say, if only even just one of them is telling the truth, that's still a bizarre phenomenon that, well, on the face of it, I know we didn't really brainstorm it, but it really can't be explained.
and believe me, when it rains in Kansas,
It rains.
it rains. It's not like so to have like a huge thunderstorm or something come through and then that the area within the church be completely dry is pretty bizarre. Pretty
time.
wild.
Big time. So it says here, awestruck visitors would report that the tiny church would stay bone dry no matter what time of year or weather conditions. And it was because of these supernatural attributes that the town finally gathered to tear the church down. Now, this destruction of the building made the spirits angry, and rumour has it the hauntings in the graveyard flared up something fierce. Now, of all the larger-than-life legends that surround Stull, the most famous story that's associated with the cemetery reportedly happened in 1993, when old Pope John Paul II was flying to Colorado to look at the Stargate under Cheyenne Mountain. According to the legend, the Pope declared... sorry, did I go too there? Okay.
No, Kev. He was landing at Denver Airport. Wanted to check on.
And from there, he was taking a space elevator down to the South Pole. How do you take a space elevator down, eh? Think about that. Think about it, folks. These people of physics we don't understand. So according to the legend, the Plope, hey, Mr. Plope, God, I'm going to call him the Plope from now on. Old Plopey declared that the ground in Stull Cemetery was so unholy, and there's a man that should know, that he forced his private plane. I've always wondered about that, right? I've never seen the Pope's plane. Do you think it's like the Pope Mobile? Do you think it's got like a glass roof that he just stands there and like when it's flying at 30,000 feet, he just kind of bulletproof kind of window, just kind of stands there, Scotty, looking down from his...
Yeah, it's like one of those bubbles that the old bombers used to have, you know, that the gunners set it. Yeah.
He's just up there, man. I mean, come on. This guy represents the big fella on Earth, right? I mean, you've got to give him his due. Plope. He forced his private plane, and now you've got an image in your head you're never going to get rid of, folks, to reroute his flight around the graveyard because even the air above it was tainted by evil. So why hasn't it been properly investigated? And this is going to get into why all the private property that Scott mentioned, I imagine. All great tales of monsters and mysteries come from some kind of truth, but how many of Stull's legends are true? What is it about Stull Cemetery that made it such an infamous piece of American legend? Were there ever really occultist or occult rituals performed in the abandoned church? Were witches once hung from the graveyard's withered old tree? Is the tiny rural cemetery even haunted? While it's easy to dismiss the more fantastic tales of satanic elevators to hell, and undocumented witch trials in Kansas, discovering whether or not Stull Cemetery is haunted by restless spirits is a lot harder. Now, you might think that such a legendary location would be great fodder for paranormal television. Exactly what I stated earlier. But not a single ghost hunting reality show has ever made its way to Stull Cemetery. And folks, we had 2 ghost hunters on the show before, and Scott mentioned it, and they had no idea about this place. So it goes on to say, no, it's not the ghosts or Satan keeping them away. It's the town themselves. By 1998, the frightening legends of the cemetery had grown to a fever pitch, and on October 31st, which is just around the corner this year, would you go down to Stull that day? Oh, you should take a drive past it that night, Scott.
You should.
See if you see the lights of the church.
Been a lot of people that have seen it, so
why not? Why not?
Possibility.
With all the things that are going on around your family right now, if I hear you took a drive past that place, I'll send Bill Bean out there to whoop you, man. You don't want to be going anywhere near that place, dude. These things have got an ability to stick. They attach themselves, man. I'm telling you. Nearly 500 people gathered at the graveyard gates to wait for the devil's scheduled appearance, causing so much damage that the local sheriff's department has posted deputies on the property every Halloween since. Now, the new police presence actually had the opposite effect and was attended. Now, Stull wasn't just legendary, it was part of an occult conspiracy. To make matters worse, on Halloween of 1999, local reporters made a trip to Stull Cemetery to put the legend to rest once and for all. They were hoping to document Satan's failure to appear in the graveyard at 12 a.m., but were mysteriously turned away by the property owners just half an hour shy of midnight. Oh, now that doesn't add to the mystery much, eh? Now, since then, it's been absolutely impossible to obtain permission to actually investigate the property, especially on 2 particular dates. And yeah, you know what ones. So during my visit, I counted at least half a dozen signs warning visitors that trespassers would be prosecuted, even though the front gate was wide open and fresh flowers were propped up against shiny new graves. Now, the warnings were clear for anyone who'd made a detour to the tiny town of Stull for an after-dark rendezvous with the devil. To be perfectly honest, even if a lucky ghost hunting reality show was able to pull off a miracle and get permission to visit Stull Cemetery, it would probably make a pretty horrible episode of television. The small graveyard sits right at the edge of Stull's busy highway, across from which a row of tiny houses sit, and each one with its own disgruntled local staring disapprovingly from the porch. Oh, it's a cry from the spooky image painted in the books, or the desolate location of Supernatural's final showdown with Satan. Interesting how Hollywood chose that location for that scene, just saying. Despite the fact that Stull doesn't quite live up to its internet reputation in real life. Only in your opinion, though. That's all that can be. My own visit to America's legendary portal to hell was so weird that I had to take pause. And within minutes of entering Stull Cemetery gates, I noticed dozens of flames forming small rings in each corner of the graveyard. There were no burn piles, no visitors throwing cigarettes into the grass, and it was a cool spring day. A far cry from a fire hazard. Maybe the devil forgot to close the door on his way back to hell. And he's got no explanation for why that is.
That's pretty weird. What, there's a grass fire that was just smoldering out there in the cemetery when he went in?
In each of the 4 corners? What?
4 corners of... Wow. See? More weirdness, man.
Big time.
It's weird, dude.
While there's hundreds, if not thousands, of allegedly cursed, evil, and otherwise damned places all over America, Stull Cemetery will always sit near the top of the pile, if for no other reason than its inaccessibility. While ghost hunters can stake their claims to exorcising demonic spirits from the world's most famous haunted houses, Stull is immune to their cleansing. Television crews are turned away, and skeptics can't be bothered with driving to the middle of Kansas to debunk an over-the-top legend, much less crawl out of their comfy armchairs to the so the portal to hell endures. Stull Cemetery remains steeped in mystery, as it always has been, and that's just the way I like it. So yeah, it's quite interesting. And to be honest with you, until like that second last like paragraph there, where he had his own experience with the woo, I almost thought he was kind of like trying to play the place down. But I mean that there's pretty weird for the fire for me. Anyway, again, could be something logical. I get it, but adds to the weirdness.
Yes, adds to the woo. You know, and it is. I think the whole thing of the locals keeping it inaccessible, you know, the property owners not allowing anybody there, that just adds to it, you know. In my opinion, I would just embrace it if I were the locals, and just go ahead and let people come in, make some money off of it, right? You know, if anything, right? You just, if anything, even if you don't believe it or whatever, you know. And then,
Scott, we're in a capitalist world for now. That's what it's all about, dude.
So here's the weird thing. Here's another thing I heard, is that the townspeople may be in on this.
Well, that's what I've thought from the start. That was my initial gut feeling when you said to me, well, Kev, the people are, because I remember joking, is it like The Hill's Eyes? You know what I mean? When you go in there, that kind of creepy, that movie. Not the remake, that was crap. One back from the 80s time. And you said, well, Kev, it actually is. Now, that was the first thing I thought. I'm like, whoa, this is like the whole town are in this kind of thing, man. This is Stephen King novel type material.
Now, what I have heard, you know, and this is just coming from, you know, more local sort of hearsay.
This stuff isn't on the internet, folks. You don't get this stuff on the internet. But we're here on the internet.
Don't get this stuff on the internet. Is that the local townsfolk there, they are the Satanists. They are the occultists.
What if they are the people, the reincarnations of the people that opened the portal in the first place? Zing.
Yeah. And see, the thing that I had heard is that the witches and the occultists that opened the portal in the church were actually like members of the church. So during the day, they put on the face of Christian churchgoers, right? And then during the night, they were engaged in satanic ritual activity, right? So that's what I heard about the whole thing, and then that's what I heard about the locals there, is that's the reason they want to keep people away from it. They don't want people poking and prodding around into their business, you know, into little activities.
Going to the toilet one day, opening the wrong door, and you come across like an eyes wide shut cloak and masks and things. I get it, but get this, man, because this is like we're getting deep alchemy from the chat room. I'm going back to Var Don Guero, Nicholas Flamel, master alchemist, and get this, boss of Johnny Whistles, a Knights Templar, found out how to develop the Philosopher's Stone, or the Rosetta Stone, on Flamel's headstone, contained a secret message on where or how the stone was made in Dante's Inferno. They break the number of the devil, or they seek the number of the devil, and how it ties with alchemy. Wow.
Old stuff, man.
It's getting deep in the safe space. I tell you what, can somebody like crack open the curtain in the safe space? Kev's getting scared in here. I don't like this, Scott. What are you doing, man?
Now, you know, in full honesty, I'm not accusing everybody in Stull of being a Satanist or
Yes,
an
yes.
occult member.
Defamation suit's coming. He's larping the hell out of Stull, folks. He's going after them, man. When are they going to get most
Yeah.
Scott?
But these are just the things I've heard. These are the things I've heard, and when you're so close to the location, you hear a lot of things, and
But listen, think about it as well. Who the hell would want to live in a place with history like that? It suggests to me you've got a bit of the ghoul in you in the first place, right, to be hanging about there. Just saying.
It's a very, very small community. I mean, we're talking almost like village size, maybe not even village size. Like, I don't even think they have a post office or anything anymore. Another thing I heard is that the town used to be called Skull, but they had changed the name to Stull because
literally STULLduggery, Scott. STULLduggery, man.
Yes,
Telling you.
Definitely some STULLduggery going on.
No, I don't want your free newsletter.
Here's another article. I think it pretty much covers.
Yeah,
most
I'm just
kind
of scanning it to see if there's anything like.
Yeah, if you can scan, I think there. Some of these kind of chime in some different information. But yeah, there it kind of gives you an idea of like who owns the property.
Yeah, they were unaware that it was getting ripped down. The Holy Bible says that powers of hell shall not prevail against the church. More exactly, it is written in the book of Matthew 16:18 that, well, pre-Mandela effects. And I also say unto thee that thou art Peter, and upon this rock I will build my church, and the gates of Hades shall not prevail against it. There you go, man.
But then it goes back to, was it really a legit Christian church to begin with? Or were they just putting on the facade of being Christians while in the night engaged in these activities? So who knows?
Within the Stull cemetery there was once an imposingly tall pine tree that stood until 1998 when it was destroyed to dissuade thrill seekers. Even though the tree was perfectly healthy, it was cut down the day before Halloween. The tall pine tree grew directly through a headstone, splitting it in half. Interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Adds to the look, if nothing else, I tell you, adds to the atmosphere of the place, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's weird, man.
Dr. Mark G. Roberts, who's a senior pastor of Irvine Presbyterian Church in California, said that, quote, within defined parameters, Satan and demons do have certain powers. Scripture nowhere gives us a systematic account of the demonic, so there is much that we can't know for sure. But we do know that evil powers can impact life on earth, even beyond the obvious actions of temptation to sin and demonic possession. This is why Paul urges, it says, Ephesians 6:12, we should recognize that our true struggle in this world is against demonic forces. That kind of spells it out. Indeed.
So
we always talk about the woo, the kind of paranormal activity, and all of that plays into that stuff, whether some people call it demonic or something else, It's all the same thing.
Well, and they say that the kid that had died in a fire, in the field, they say that something possessed him to run into the field. The farmer's kid that died, because he was burning his field, because farmers, they burn their field every year, and the kid just ran out into the field and burned to death, and that something possessed him to do it. You got the old Topeka zip code pulled up there, huh?
7 mile radius. I'm not into numbers, but I know 7's quite an interesting number in numerology,
It is very interesting.
Mm-hmm. And then think that's about all the links we've got, but
Yeah,
I think
I think that pretty
probably
much
made a case for Stull. I think, although it was unknown to me, it's highly deserving of its place, you know, in amongst America's most haunted locations. And the whole way that life is around there, like we've heard about the locals and everything else, it only adds to this mystery. And you know what? Part of me is smiling because this is one that's never going to go away. This is a timeless one. There'll be people, if they're still podcasting 50 years from now, coming across this place and going, wait till you hear about this. Maybe, Scott, maybe in the digital annals, you know, maybe they'll dig up this podcast and they'll be like, wow, here's a dude that literally lived there at one point, man. You know, before climate change came in and flooded everywhere.
Yes, you know, but
I
definitely think Skull. Now I'm calling it Skull. Stull is you know, deserving of its reputation, no doubt. You know, and it is. It's kind of one of these places that a lot of people don't hear about, especially within the paranormal realm. It's either you know about it or you don't, and if you know about it, then you know what's going on with Stull. But a lot of people just it's kind of, even though it's kind of been featured in this supernatural, you know, this supernatural show and all that stuff, I still think it's an extremely underrated location as far as people talking about it and covering it and all of that stuff. I mean, there's been people making videos about it, I mean, like the one we saw and all that stuff, but it's just not one of these locations that immediately pop, you know, in your head when you're talking about haunted locations across America, right? Usually, you know, it's these psychiatric wards, or, you know, these other more famous kind of, you know, locations like the Amityville Horror House, or the Stanley Hotel, or something like that. But Stull is never usually brought up in anyone's conversation, and no one really even knows about it, you know?
No.
So,
it's a new one on me, apart from when I've heard it from you. But Anne was telling me earlier on today, for any budding ghost hunter in the UK, and come on, I'm giving you free advertising here, Most Haunted. Don't be bad about this. I've tried to get you on the show. There's only a handful of like guests and things that I've approached, Scott, that have never got back to me, right? Never even bothered to send an auto reply to say that we got your email, right? No, nothing. And Most Haunted's one of them, and which is really, really annoying, because myself and Anne, we have been long time fans of the show, even despite a lot of the criticism that's come along the way, and rightly so, the criticism at times, you know. But this is coming up this Halloween, and I believe from what Anne was telling me, it's going to be YouTube based on, you guessed it, October the 31st. Don't you dare. Yvette Fielding, I used to fancy you when I was in school. Don't do this to me. She used to be on Blue Peter. It was like a big show over here, Scott. You know, it's teenage lad, 15, 16. You get me, man. You feel me.
yeah.
Hairy hands. They're not giving much away here, but it looks horrendously scary if this is the place, right? I mean, if you could, like, build a haunted house. YouTube /Most Haunted Live. I'll put a link in the description for people. And we've got a listener here, a viewer, Jason, member of the channel, who him and his girlfriend are starting to embark on a career, well, not a career, but like going out and literally boots on the ground, cameras in hand, EVPs recording.
Nice.
Oh, that's what I like to hear, man. Big time. Big time. So yeah, I'll probably
hopefully, you know what? Hopefully sometime in the future, that property of Stull changes hands to somebody who's more willing to let people in and investigate.
You mean
here.
like the Aleister Crowley Foundation that are taking over Boleskine that are going to like be teaching Thelema on the property? You don't want them to go too far with it, Scott. You don't want them like every Halloween literally like summoning the old one.
No, I'm not. I'm just saying somebody that's open to letting paranormal investigators go in and because I mean you see these people that own these really famous haunted locations, haunted houses and stuff, and they openly, embrace people coming in and investigating and stuff like that, but you don't see that with Stull. It's actually quite the opposite. And like I said, I think that adds to it. Why so much resistance? Why do they want people kept out of there so bad? It doesn't make sense to me.
Friend. It adds to the woo. Yes, Jason, exactly, my brother. Yvette Fielding. Yep, your girlfriend's right, man. We are very, very alike indeed. Yes, all that's missing on you, my friend, is your badge of toxicity. It's coming on nicely here, Scott. I must admit.
Yeah, looking.
I'm wanting to grow it like to stupid proportions, but only so then when I get it cut, I can get it like looking real cool, looking like good.
Well, if you get it, if you start getting that really, really toxic masculine beard going, that our good friend Popeye is going to say that you're trying to emulate him, right?
No, but listen, right? I love Popeye to bits. I really do. And he takes far much more credit than he's due for starting me off on my radio career. But I give him that, okay? I give him it. I listen to it. But listen, and I know he won't be listening right now, but I bet when he hears somebody might say Popeye, he'll find this part of the show. Popeye, that beard's bad that you've got, dude. That's like... Scott, that's not a beard. That looks like he's like stuck something like from his ears right around the bottom of his face. There's something wrong with it, man. It's not like, I don't know. It just doesn't look like a beard that any other man I know grows. I don't know if it's because he was like flying about on like Coast Guard boats or whether it's, I don't know what it is, dude. Maybe it's all that spinach. I don't bloody know what's up with him, but it's not a beard, man. Not a good look.
That you're really trying to trigger our friend, aren't you? You insult the beard.
I know how to do it. See, yeah.
You're gonna feel the wrath later on.
I mean, does his beard have its own area code? It should have. It really should have.
I think his beard exists in an entirely different dimension.
I think, if you look really closely at old pictures of Nikola Tesla, like in amongst all that lightning coming off his mad like towers and things, you will see Popeye above it with a beard. It's the beard that's emanating the lightning, man. He can open portals with that thing. Okay, now I'm taking it way too far. Way too far, yes. Purposely try to bait the popster into a show sometime soon. But Scott, this has been good, and I really, really hope, and of course it's only at your convenience, sir, but I'd love for you to join us later on with Ryan Gable when he comes on, because the last time the three of us hooked up, two's great, but there's a dynamic where there's three and all, I don't know. So later on today, dude.
Ryan's an awesome dude. I converse with him on Facebook and stuff, and yes, depending on when supper gets done today, Kev, I may be airdropping in with you guys. So
there we go. There's his website there.
The Secret Teachings.
Yes, the truth is out there. It certainly is. But even when you find it, what is the truth? One man's truth, who knows? Another man's disinfo. It's how you look at it, right? But no, I'm looking forward to this because the way Ryan looks at things, Scott, and I first heard him, I think it was on Ground Zero with Clyde, and they were decoding a halftime show. I think that was one of the first times I heard him. And I'm like, there's some people that know what they're talking about when they're decoding these things. And then there's people like me who just kind of knows roughly what some things kind of mean. And when I heard Ryan the first time, I'm like, wow, here's a dude that knows his stuff. And then when I found out more about him, and it was Ron Patton said, would you like Ryan on your show? I nearly fell over myself trying to answer him, saying, yeah, definitely. Do you know what I mean? I found out he was so young as well. And that's, that's why I've said it before, I predict big things for Ryan in the future. Truly do.
I do too. His level of knowledge when it comes to all of this stuff, when it comes to, occult symbolism and, a lot of these esoteric meanings and being able to point out a lot of this stuff. I mean, it's top notch, and he's only going to get better from, as time goes. I mean, he's already absolutely brilliant, but I see Ryan hitting like levels of our friend Mr. Everard, if not going beyond that. As far as just having that mind that has a database of knowledge,
and you can just switch subjects like that, and it's there, man. You're like, wow. And folks, he's going to be giving away one of his books tonight. So there was a call in the chat room for a simulcast, and Scott, you know how I hate to simulcast. You know how I hate this streaming malarkey, right? Right?
Yes, you absolutely. They have to twist your arm to get you to go live on YouTube.
They do. It's bad. It is. Okay. So perhaps we will simulcast tonight then. In fact, there's a very good chance of that. So we'll be on TFR at tfrlive.com, the home of KBS. I urge you all to please check that out, even if you open it up in another browser. And that way we're still showing all of our support to the home of KBS, where it all started and where it's all going to continue. And then we can have this additional layer of the simulcast for those who choose to. So I'd love to see you either in the TFR chat over here with me, Ryan, and hopefully fingers crossed, toes crossed, everything for Scotty coming on as well tonight, because the three of us, it's like the alchemist's dream if we follow on where we've been going today. It's like you bring those three separate elements to the table, you mix them and shake them around with that theme tune that comes on at the start of KBS, and man, oh man, does magical things happen. We take nothing and turn it into 2 hours plus of very much something. Oh, I like that. The Alchemists, yes.
The Holy Trinity?
Or the more like the Unholy Trinity.
Yeah, I guess so. But somebody in the chat asked earlier, where is my Matrix? I'm not in the Matrix today.
They kicked him out. Scott took the blue pill for this episode.
The Matrix glitched today, so I'll try to get that fixed, because
Scott, we could have played a good trick there. You could have said, what Matrix? Never used the Matrix. Never used it. What are you talking about? Mandela.
Man.
Kristen B. Thank you very, very much. Now, we're going to have the very inappropriate Brian and Kevin interrupting in a moment. Yes, I'm talking about the dancer in the third person because I'm trying to distance myself from that silly little dance he does. But we'll have Brian reading out. Maybe Brian's scared as well. No, not Brian.
Point of privilege. I'm scared. Talk about cute puppies, open hands, open hands, open hands, open hands, brown chicken, brown cow, smoke 'em if you got 'em.
Open hands, open hands, open. That sounded like a magical spell that Brian was trying to do there. Brian, you're not trying to cast some kind of Wookiee magic on us or something, are you? Now, how scary would it be if Brian just impromptu answered, Scott? That's the day that you know Skynet's taken over. When Brian just comes back and says, shut up, Kev. No, I mean.
Brandy in the chat asked if I watch anime, and yes, I do. But I have not seen, was it Steins Gate? I will definitely check that out. I am an anime connoisseur. So Thank you for the recommendation.
Yes, hang on now. Yeah, big shout out to a fellow host on TFR, Brent Thomas. Was over on his channel last night, Scott. Noticed he was on, talking some good woo. And yeah, he noticed me in the chat room, so he gave me a big shout out. And the least I can do is give him the same in return, because if you're into the woo, I think he goes on there nightly now over on YouTube. Absolutely fantastic. It's the perfect kind of show for anyone that likes this. We've looked at the Shadow Men on King Frostmare channel, another good channel to check out. Check out Brent Thomas, folks. Brilliant channel. I'll get the link here.
Brent, look up Stull. Maybe you can dig up more information than I can dig up, since this is your realm, my friend.
That was like automatic writing came out of me there, Scott. I was like thinking Paranormal Portal, and all of a sudden I typed Paranormal Hotel. Where the hell did that come from? Yeah, that's a bit disconcerting. I must.
You were possessed to write the Paranormal Hotel.
Heard of keyboard warriors, but never keyboard demons, man. Don't start that woo on me, Scott. Don't start it on me. Did I post that? There we go. There you go, folks. So I'm going to take my leave. Scotty's going to take his leave. I'm going to message his mum, get him fed pronto. I'm only joking. And hopefully, the three of us will combine elements again tonight with Ryan Gable when we get into some equally deep and weird woo. And as Ryan always does, he takes us to levels that sometimes we didn't necessarily see existed when first viewing something, say, in a pop video or something that's in a movie. And pop videos and movies might be very, very relevant tonight. I know that we've had Ryan speaking about that movie that's out in America right now, Scott, that seems to be causing so much outrage, right? So we'll also get Ryan's take on that, because he's expert to talk about that kind of stuff as well. So, yep, looking forward to later. Thank you all so much. Kristen, thank you. I'm trying to think who was the other. Germanus, thank you for the super chats today. Much appreciated. And listen, if you would like to become a member of the show, I would very much love that. And all you have to do is go to my channel page and click this button here. And what that does is that brings you up not one, not two, but three different prices at which you can join the channel. We've got a very budget offer that's cheaper than a Starbucks coffee, and I love my Starbucks coffee, all the way up to £8.99, and that opens up all of the loyalty badges you can see there. You accrue them over time, you change colour, and of course you get all of the emojis, no matter what level you're on. Sundays we have the VIP lounge. Sometimes it's members only chat where anyone can come, but this week it's going to be members only. It's going to be a real cozy safe space. So if you want to support the channel and have me love you long time, oh yes, Scotty, me love people long time when they do this, then it goes a long way to keeping us doing what we're doing here. So with that said, I want to bid you all a good day for a couple of hours anyway, 3 and a bit hours. And remember, that little noise that you just heard in another room, now normally you might think it's just, floorboards cracking or maybe the wind coming in the window. But today I ask you to question that, because what if? Just what if, Scott? What if it's an ooga booga that's made its way into your house? Whoa.
What if there's some STULLduggery going on?
Oh my word. Damn, dude, you stole my title and you made it even better with your timing with it. You see, that there is why we are the perfect chemistry. So for this safe space, remember now, turn the lights on the way out, and don't be stealing any of that finger paint. You people, I've hardly got any left. All the Play-Doh is gone as well, Scott. They keep on taking it home with them. The hell's that all about?
It's too fun.
Kristen. Damn. If I was a real bad man, I could sit here and say, okay then, so if I get like 20 more donations like that,
is Brian going to spell this out?
Maybe.
I think so.
I think he will.
SIMULCAST.
It sounds like the chorus of a rap song or something. SIMULCAST. There we go. Maybe, perhaps. I know I shouldn't talk with a mouthful of munchies, but okay then. Okay, you twisted my arm. Okay then. Wasn't going to do it, honestly. Yes, Gordon, some jazz hands in there. So, Scott, you enjoyed this?
It was good. It was good. Good old paranormal woo, as always.
Well, I'll let you
And
have the last word to the audience about Stull. I'll let you take it out, good sir. I have the music ready. Do your thing, Scott.
if you have anything local going on around you, look into it. This is just one of those things, like I said, that has been with me since high school, and I always thought it was kind of an underrated story and the legend of it. And so I thought I would bring it to the table for everyone, and you can make up your own mind about whether you think the story has been embellished, if it's all just some crazy urban legend, or if there's actually something more to the story of Stull.
And Bar Don Guero, he says, Scott, he hopes you enjoyed the woo that he provided.
I think one of these days we're gonna have to dive into the whole alchemy thing, into all of that stuff, because that's a pretty fascinating topic as well. So yeah.
And remember to join us later, ladies and gentlemen, with Ryan Gable, The Secret Teachings. That's thesecretteachings.info.